Alright, welcome back. Video number 2 on the T-1 F-22 Raptor. So we already went over the good and the bad, or the bad and the uglies, and most of the goods with the jet. So here's kind of what you're going to get. They do a nice job of, individually putting things in bags for you. I can't read it, but you know what it is. And they mark a checklist, which is nice. That's always a sign. A good sign is inventorying. So kind of starting here left to right. These are wings, and you got rods and ball ends. These are the mounts for the servos and the wings. This is the rod ends and rods for your thrust vectoring. They're metal, which is nice because it's kind of a high heat area. Servo arms with the ball. Little brass balls that you put on there. This is the servo mount for the nose gear and the drive pin and servo screws. They do a nice job with giving you complete hardware, which I kind of like. A set of Allen screws that fits all the required things that you typically, all the screws that are Allen type. They got the equivalent in here for you. That's something new. They didn't do that on the first one. More servo mount brackets, a ton of metal T's and quick disconnect fittings, which I really like these. I use these on all my jets. I don't use the plastic ones. There's nothing wrong with the plastic ones, but I just don't particularly like to use them. Here's the canopy lock cylinder, which I will do a mod just like on the last one and have electric. And here's the drive units for the rudder. Big controversial thing in the first ones. These are just another bolts and screws that you get. They also provide you with your clunks and your fuel. Everybody calls them fuel bungs, but these aren't the rubber stoppers. You get a vent, the fittings for the actual glue-in piece, and then the screw-in cap that has the fittings on it. And these are larger. They're higher flow. I wouldn't consider these high flow just because of the size of the fittings, but this is what I believe this is their high flow stuff. But don't quote me on that, because I know they have a blue, I believe a blue and a red, and then you can get them in two different sizes, like high flow and then more like a standard type thing. They give you a feel thing for your air strut, the struts or air. Give you this little guy, hook up, push air into it, and then you press this in to actually, let the air come out. This is a bag of carbon fiber mounts and these G10 kind of pieces, and from what I understand, these are for motor mounting and shimming. Probably more for a King Tech, considering the King Tech guys are part of the, work with T1. I won't be using these probably. They do give you some fuel line and air line, which is nice. I typically don't use the air line because every time I use, I hate to say it, say Asian, but the Chinese fuel line or airlines, they always just seem too stiff, and it dries out and just breaks. So I always just use my own. They give you 3 rolls of that, or 4, sorry. A clear that you can use for brakes if you wanted, and then you got a black and a red and an orange, same as the last kit. And then you got some fuel line that I don't see why that you can't use this. I just typically use BVM high flow stuff, but there's nothing wrong with it if you want to use it. Extensions for all the lights. They're new and improved light kit. This is the driver part of it, which is nice because the last one was the one I had in the last one was really, it was one of the first versions, so it was a harder and it was more bulky. This seems to be a nice, more compact unit, so I'm looking forward to that. It'll help clean it up, installation. This is the little composite deck that goes over the back area right behind where the actuator is to open and close the canopy. That's glossy, so I'll have to paint it flat. And then the rest of this is just the equipment that I'm going to cram in here. This is a lot of this stuff came right out of my other one because I just sold the model without servos or anything. So he just got the airframe, and I'm literally, I got my servos, power system. I love those things. My MAP high flow UATs, some filters. Those are those old. Man, who made those? Anyways, they made the clear UATs at one time. I still got one over there. It was actually what I had in the 2.5 meter Viper that crashed on me. High flow vents, and then turbines, turbine pumps, the Cortex gyro, shutoff valves, 2 receivers, and they also give you this so you can, and when there's like a little attachment that you put on there to put the oil in your struts if you ever have to service them. And then crossbeam, very heavy duty crossbeam. It's a multiple piece. I ended up, once you get it, you have to do a little bit of trimming to get it in there, and then once you get it trimmed, I usually just run some CA, or actually, no, I think I used CA last time. Just glue these 3 pieces together. It's kind of a aircraft ply, so it's really beefy. The inner piece is a light ply, not aircraft ply, light ply as I call it. And that's your, your center beam. Rudders, I hate to say it, the original rudders that my other kit had were the original rudders that we were all worried. They seemed a little bit more flimsier than these, and I ended up, getting, we had that issue with the slop in the drive units in the original that they handled and fixed, and that was just because of the bad batch of drive units. And then they come out with a new set of rudders. Because that's what people wanted, including myself. I think I was kind of a driving force behind that. But the new ones are like, I think they're solid carbon fiber, and they are beefy. I mean, they're quite a bit heavier than my other ones, I think, and they're definitely a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? Rigid. So that's a good thing. I just worry. What is that? I just worry them being. See, there's a little paint spot. Nothing crazy, but like I said, I'm anal. This thing with tail mounts, if you're not careful, you'll end up having to put a lot of nose weight, and that's my only worry, is having these heavier. It's kind of a double-edged sword. You get a nice beefy rudder, but it adds weight to the tail, and then you have to add even more. Luckily, with the CG we were using, or that I was using, I had removed all the weight out of the nose, and I'd actually moved batteries out of the nose, kind of around the cockpit. So the original CG, I think, was extremely. What's the word I'm looking for? I think it would have been more tail heavy because the CG was forward. I ended up moving it back. So if you balance it forward and you go back, it makes, it would have been tail heavy. No, nose heavy, sorry. So it was really nose heavy, as is. So once I started moving the CG back and went with a better, like around 300 millimeters, 305 is kind of the max you want to go back, but I think I set mine around 300. It was a lot. It was just, it rotated easier. It didn't seem to be as pitchy on landing. It does land a little flat, so you have to. That took some time to get used to, but it seems to be a better CG around 300, if I remember correctly. Stabs. These have the traditional quick release. Press underneath and then pull them out. There's a little channel here. And then this is the gun cover, and I usually just glue it in because I don't do like some, put switches and stuff underneath it. Just get it out of the way. So that's kind of the whole jet. And motors, two 120s, Zyquil 120s. I was really worried about these because they are very small for this motor from what I saw people originally putting in them, like 180s. But to my surprise, it's plenty. With all, I gotta get to the fuel tanks too. With the 3 fuel tanks completely full, and there's some big tanks. I took off and lost an engine at Georgia on takeoff, and was able to fly 8 minutes on one engine, no problem. And I even had to do a go around on landing, the first attempt at landing, because I was just too high, and it even climbed on one engine. Couldn't really tell which side went out because it wasn't noticeable. The only reason why I noticed it was it just wasn't going as fast as it normally went. So it's a good flying jet on one engine. So if you lose an engine, don't worry, just keep flying. And if you have something in there larger like a 180, you'll be fine. With a 120, just be a little careful. Don't do a 45 to 60 degree climb and expect to get anywhere with it. I just kept it, nice 20, 30 degree climb when I needed to, and it was fine. Even because this one, when you put the gear and the flaps down, it gets real draggy, and I was worried about that it wasn't going to be able to handle it. But like I said, when I had to do the go around, it was just fine. The only thing I didn't do was I didn't put full flaps. I was like takeoff flaps, so about half what I norm. And if you see, here's the tanks. They are massive. I mean, saddle, big main. I mean, with all three of these in and full, after about 7 to 8 minutes when I taxi in, this is empty, and I've just gotten into these. I make these my main, and this is kind of like a saddle, and this fills into the sides, and I would just get into these. So I would almost bet that you don't even need that center one. I'm actually thinking about taking that smaller tank and putting it in versus this bigger one, because I have two tanks like that. I have one from the Viper jet, and it's the same size as that one, and I'm probably not going to use that one in the jet that it came with. So I'll probably it'll be half this size. And I think that'd be perfect. Save a little weight. And that's about it. Oh, landing gear, this piece, and then of course your nose wheel with the lights on it, and your cockpit. Hatch, boop, and that air cylinder I showed you was the open and close. The air cylinder for the lock is on the actual canopy, and that's one thing I remove. I Dremel that off, or the glue off, and remove it. Take the pin that's in the actual air and attach it to an electric actuator, linear actuator, and I use that. That's mounted in this area, and it comes in and out through here. So I have an electric open and close, and then an electric pin that goes forward to lock the canopy when it goes down. Works really good, I think. Plus, you don't have to worry with all those running the air lines down the canopy, and you get rid of an air valve. You get rid of two air valves, if you do that kind of a setup. But that is it. Tail section, main section, nose section. And that's about it. So good, the bad, the ugly, what's in the box on this one. And I'll probably get started on the wings tomorrow. That's the plan. That just takes the longest. I just got to see if I can work some magic on that leading edge flap there. But that's it. And then these take a little bit, because they already drilled the holes. But when you put them on here, and that's like I said for this one. And then you got the back piece right here. Usually you have to trim a little bit, like take a Dremel and kind of sand this a little bit to get a good, where you get all the travel you need. And then once you have the travel you need, you stop, and it's perfect. But the things I'm going to do different on this one, I am putting all the equipment underneath the tray. The tray that goes right here. You got a forward and an aft tray. The forward tray, I had just because of weight, I put everything electronic. I put the power system, all the valves here, and then batteries were up here. So I'm going to put all that I can under the hatch, because I just don't want to see it. I want to use that tray just for batteries, make it clean. And then your aft tray actually is right here. This is the fuselage. Is right here over the nose wheel. And that has things on it like the UATs and things like that, and a couple other items like the pumps. I am going to put the what I call the hubs further back, so I won't have as long leads these are really long leads, and I had to jump up from a 2-cell to a 3-cell live pack to get the motors to start, just because of the voltage drop or whatever it was causing it to almost hot start on 2-cell. So I'm trying to shorten this by putting the connection point. So you plug that in, you know, your battery, your turbine into this, and this is your battery. So I'm trying to put this, instead of having it in the nose, I'm trying to put it in the basically the same back bay where you take the hatch off. So air, fuel shutoff valves are all in that area anyways, so I figured just have these there and just be done with it. They're not that heavy, you know. If I'll risk, you know, having to push a battery an inch further, you know, forward to compensate for that. That's one thing I'm trying to do different. I do want to put an extra air valve on the gear door, or not the gear doors, the bay doors, because I want to be able to open up the side and versus having the sides and bottom open up. So I'd like to be able to open up the sides, because eventually I may try to get some kind of like foam, like, because I want them to be light, because I don't want to add a lot of weight, some type of foam like fake looking missiles, and be able to open up like the side versus the bottom, or the bottom and not the sides, kind of a thing. So that's kind of the changes I wanted to do on this one. And that's about it. Probably run a couple wires in a different location to connect and disconnect the wings, but that's about it. So, but another long-winded video. So that's number 2 of just me running my chops. So that's it for the F-22. The next video is going to be what I got today. So, and I'm just kind of showing you what it is. So you guys take it easy. Hope you had a good Christmas, which is over now, but I hope you had a good Christmas. Hope Santa brought you something. I tried to get on his naughty list so he'd bring me, you know, rocks. I put rocks on my building, but I couldn't even get rocks from Santa. So anyways, yeah, so you guys take it easy, and I will switch gears to the other model and on the next video. Take it easy.